Today we're going over the very best decks in the Pokemon trading card game in January 2025, using results from regional level events to rank these decks from number 10 to 1. Beginning with number 10, Lost Zone Box. Lost Zone Box continues to be an all-basic Pokemon toolbox style deck, meaning that it's using a myriad of different attackers depending on which ones are best for the situation and the matchup that you're in. Using Comfey's Flower Selecting, Colress's Experiment, and Lost Vacuum, you'll build up a Lost Zone of cards, which unlocks effects on Cramorant, Mirage Gate, and Sableye. Using Mirage Gate, you can accelerate energies really fast to Radiant Greninja, Pikachu EX, Iron Hands EX, or Blood Moon Ursa Luna EX. Typically, Sableye is just going to need that single Psychic attachment from hand, but of course you could use Mirage Gate for that as well. Pikachu EX is the newest addition to this deck, and it provides an incredibly strong attack in Topaz Bolt, which does 300 damage. It also protects itself from one-hit KOs with the ability Resolute Heart. Now, while Lost Zone Box has single prize attackers, it has Iron Hands EX to take an extra prize card, it has Pikachu EX, which can knock out almost anything in the game. It's still only at number 10 this month because of consistency issues and also matchup problems. It can struggle against Charizard because of its higher HP and disruption, but it also struggles against Regidrago V-Star, which has been this deck's problem for months and months because Regidrago V-Star has Kyurem and Dragapult EX, which are both really hard for this archetype to deal with. Next at number 9 is Lugia Archeops, which is another deck that has been around for a really long time. It's only one set older than the Lost Zone boxed cards, I believe. But Lugia Archeops has been a mainstay in the standard format, and it's down here at number 9, but it's still a really strong deck, because essentially, if you're able to pop Summoning Star to get 2 Archeopses on the board, so that means you have 2 Primal Turbos every turn, accelerating up to 4 special energies onto your board, and then you can even get a 5th down with your manual attachment for turn. Once you get all of that established, the double Archeops, it could feel pretty hard to beat Lugia. But of course, Lugia V-Star is a couple years old now, so there have been more stronger cards that have come out. You know, Charizard EX, Dragapult EX, all the new EX cards and the cards that came along with them. Haven't exactly power crept Lugia out of the format, but has made it more of a fair deck because there's other decks on its power level, much unlike back when Lugia first came out and it was unbeatable. Cinccino is an incredibly strong attacker, and it's probably the reason why Lugia is still sticking around, because it's a single prize Pokemon that does Special Roll, which can do enough damage to knock anything out, especially, you know, with Primal Turbo on your side to accelerate energies really fast, and plus you have the manual attachment as well, so Special Roll can get up to 350 damage in just one turn. So Cinccino is definitely a really big part of Lugia still being able to succeed. Number 8 is Roaring Moon EX, a good old-fashioned, speedy, basic Pokemon beat stick deck. You're trying to just get one shot after one shot after one shot, whether that's going to be with Roaring Moon EX's Frenzied Gouging or its Calamity Storm. Regardless of which one you use, you're going to be able to take one-hit KOs pretty often on just about anything with one of those attacks. We've also seen this new single prize Koraidon being included into some Roaring Moon decks. It has the first attack. You can't use the second attack in here because of the fighting energy, but the first attack, Unrelenting Onslaught, it could do 180 for 2 energies, and it's a single prize Pokemon, and it's fighting type. So if you're coming up against something that's weak to fighting, or you need to fix the prize trade by tossing a single prize Pokemon in there, you have this Koraidon, but you also have Baby Roaring Moon as an option there as well. Next, we have Gholdengo EX, which has made some really surprising high placements in this format. And this one here that we're looking at, 3rd place from Sacramento Regionals, it included a 1/0/1 line of Togekiss from Surging Sparks. This Togekiss has the ability Wonder Kiss. When your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out, flip a coin. If heads, take 1 more prize card. So this is an incredibly game-changing ability. Of course, it is on a coin flip, so sometimes it will do nothing, sometimes it will completely change the game. However, let's talk about what this deck actually does. So the attacker that this deck is using, the ability this deck is using, Gholdengo EX is most of the deck. It has the ability coin bonus. You can draw a card, but if it's in the active, you get to draw 2 cards. And then Make It Rain for just a metal energy. You get to discard any number of basic energy cards from your hand, and this attack does 50 damage for each card you discard in this way. So essentially, Gholdengo EX will be able to one-shot anything. To make sure Make It Rain is doing as much damage as you need, this deck has a lot of ways to find energy, like Superior Energy Retrieval, Night Stretcher, Earthen Vessel, all of these energy cards themselves, and also the Energy Search Pro Ace spec, which allows you to search your deck for any number of basic energy cards of different types, reveal them, and put them into your hand. So that's why this deck is using 8 different types of basic energy, so you can potentially get the maximum benefit from Energy Search Pro and dump all those energies for Make It Rain. Next, we have Raging Bolt, which has been one of the top decks ever since Raging Bolt and Teal Mask Ogerpon have been put together. However, it's fallen down in the ranking this month and last month. You'll see here it's only ranked at number 6 in today's video. I think this is because the deck is very linear. It's very straightforward. And it can have its own consistency problems. You know, this is a very fast format, and when you have a fast deck like Raging Bolt Ogerpon, it's expected that you're taking a huge knockout every turn possible. So just missing one turn of a Professor Sada's or getting that slow start, if your opponent's deck is running the way it should be, you're probably just going to lose that game because you did not get off to the races fast enough and keep that consistency throughout the game. Raging Bolt Ogerpon, still a strong deck, but it's falling into the tier 2 range now when it stayed up maybe in the tier 1 range for quite a while. Like I said, based on its predictability, its linear nature, but it's still a strong deck that can one-shot anything, and it definitely can still succeed. Snorlax Stall at number 5. Now, the reason why this kind of deck exists and succeeds is because people don't want to tech for it, people don't want to practice against it, and time again, players will get some really great results with Snorlax Stall by hitting good matchups, decks that didn't tech against them, decks that didn't practice this matchup. So what this deck is going to try to do is just trap something in the active with Snorlax's block ability, preferably something without a good attack, or an attack that your opponent's deck cannot reasonably use, and you just trap it there, and your opponent will eventually run out of cards in their deck, and you win. The other way this deck can win is with Mimikyu's Safeguard ability and or Cornerstone Ogerpon's Cornerstone Stance abilities, which block damage from Mimikyu blocks it from EX and V, and then Cornerstone blocks it from Pokemon with abilities. So if you could just wall out damage, you can also just infinitely wall that damage while your opponent eventually decks out. Now, decking out will typically not be an issue for you because you have Pal Pad in here, you have Team Yell's Cheer, so you can replenish your deck. And you also have ways to chip away at your opponent's deck, Misfortune Sisters, Eri to get cards out of their hand, also accompanying Flute, which can force Pokemon from their deck onto their bench. So this is a very annoying deck to play against, and it can be very rewarding to play if you choose the right meta to play this into. Gardevoir EX back up at number 4. This has been one of my favorite cards to come out of the Scarlet and Violet era, the Gardevoir EX. And this iteration of the deck is doing pretty well. So Gardevoir EX has had a very known problem against Regidrago. It's also had a problem against the Dusclops and Dusknoir. It's definitely struggled for the better half of the last year or so, after being such a dominant force in the first 6 or 7 months of 2024. The strategy of the deck is, of course, to set up a whole bunch of Curlias so you can use that refinement ability to draw cards and get energies into your discard pile. And then use Gardevoir EX's Psychic Embrace to power up itself, Munkidori, Drifloon, Screamtail. You have a good few attackers to choose from. Munkidori also has that Adrenabrain ability that can move damage around, which is absolutely crazy. That's why this deck is playing 2 Munkidori and 3 Dark Energy. But what I like about this list is that it played Mawile. That tempting trap, you can win games with almost like the same strategy as the Snorlax Stall. If your opponent puts down a Pokemon that they can't attack with, like Manaphy or Radiant Greninja, maybe Lumineon V in a deck without water energy, you can counter catcher or boss that Pokemon up. use Tempting Trap, and if your opponent is all out of ways to get that Pokemon out of the active, you might just win right there because your opponent can't get that Pokemon out of the active. So the Mawile can be really sneaky, especially when people aren't expecting it. And that could be the way to get around some of your bad matchups, like that Regidrago matchup. If you just bring something up Mawile, they've already popped their V-Star, they don't have a switch left, might just win because of that Tempting Trap. And number 3, I can't believe that this deck has stayed at number 3 through this format, but it's Klawf Terapagos. So Terapagos Dusknoir is still a deck. It's not on our top 10 today. And regular old Klawf is still a deck, but that's not on our top 10 today either. But Klawf Terapagos, specifically Klawf Terapagos together, is number 3. It's pretty crazy to see this, but that's what the stats say, and the stats don't lie. So you have a combination of 2 very good double turbo energy users. Klawf with its unhinged scissors attack, and you have the tools to affect it by a special condition in here. Of course, we've got the Brute Bonnets that can do that for you. And then you have Terapagos, which when you use Area 0 Underdepths to extend your bench, your double turbo energy is doing a lot of damage with the Unified Beatdown. And of course, we have the Binding Mochi tool card here as well. I know people in the comments hate when I mispronounce cards. Sometimes I call it Binding Mochi, but yes, Binding Mochi to increase the damage done by our Pokemon which are poisoned, which again is easy to do because we got Brute Bonnet here to poison our own Pokemon when we want. This can also be a little bit of a scary deck because that Pekkarunt with the Toxic Subjugation, if you have Brute Bonnet plus this Pekkarunt plus Radiant Hisuian Sneasler down on turn 0, you could potentially get some donks against low HP Pokemon like Charmander or Duskull or what have you. So this is a really aggressive single prize deck. It's the best big basic deck, or the best all basic attacking deck we currently have in this format according to the stats. On to the number 2 deck. This is Charizard Pidgeot with Dusknoir. So Charizard EX, I say this a lot, it's one of the strongest cards ever printed. Just look at its attributes. 330 health, it can't be damaged on the bench, it has an ability that accelerates energy to itself, and it has a 2 energy attack that starts out at 180 and just scales the longer the game goes on. So Charizard EX, gonna be strong until it rotates out of the game. Pidgeot EX, similar. It searches for any card you want every single turn of the game. This is going to be good until it rotates out of the format. And then we add in Dusclops and Dusknoir. These cards can knock themselves out to add damage onto the board, but it also, when you knock yourself out, you give your opponent a prize card. This can activate Counter Catcher. It also boosts the damage of Charizard EX's Burning Darkness. So this is an incredibly strong deck. It does take a little bit of setup and a little bit of technicality because you are trying to set up 2 stage 2 Pokemon, Charizard and Pidgeot, and then sprinkling in the use of Dusclops and Dusknoir. So yeah, this is a very strong deck. It's number 2 on the top 10 here. It really rewards good play, and it really rewards good matchup concepts, understanding how to play this deck, understanding what the lines look like against all the popular decks, and also against the mirror match. The mirror match can be really, really difficult as well. So a great deck, but definitely not easy to play. And number 1, of course, is Regidrago V-Star. Regidrago V-Star is an insane deck. Of course, Regidrago V-Star itself has that Apex Dragon, which is going to allow you to copy Dragapult, Giratina, Hisuian Goodra, Alolan Exeggutor, or Kyurem from the discard pile. It can also copy Regidrago V's Dragon Laser if you really needed to. And it also has the V-Star power ability Legacy Star, which allows you to mill 7 cards and then take any 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. So it can copy any dragon attack, and it has one of the best available V-Star powers. Couple that with the fact that now we have the Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, Teal Dance plus Energy Switch, and your Regidrago V-Star is getting powered up. So this deck is incredibly strong. I confidently say it's the best deck in the format, and I'm not surprised that the stats reflect it. Thanks for watching today's video. If you'd like to improve at the game, make sure you subscribe here for all the videos I upload, but you can also check out my Metafy page where I have an all-inclusive competitive Pokemon TCG Masterclass with currently over 5 hours of content, and that's going to grow as well with future updates. And I also offer one-on-one coaching over there. If you have any questions about my educational content or my coaching services, feel free to comment here or message me on Twitter or Discord or Metafy. All of those should be easy to find either in the description or at my Metafy link. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.